The Zilpic Runner, Glorious Endeavor's envelope of real space unfolded around it, now traveling at speeds where the relativistic effects of slipstream travel would not seriously damage the ship. High Trader Ozic ran his claws underneath his frill as he checked the report from his ship's tender, pleased to see that all his cargo hadn't suffered from exceptionally rare but frustrating temporal anomalies. The only negative mark on the transit was a member of the crew with a small embolism, now in medbay, who had served on the Endeavor long enough to know better than to exit his transit seat before deceleration had finished. It was in Zilpic nature to be competitive, but Ozic never understood why trying to be the first back to work after a transit lockdown was popular, especially as this was a run suitable for a fresh graduate of the College of Trade, a supply run to what should be a recently pacified Harchan polity. It had been 4 Ril, roughly 75 Earth days, since the Harchan had entered the system, declaring their arrival and intentions publicly, both to the planet's inhabitants and the wider spacefaring community, as was required by interspacefaring species law. By now, the native art and literature should be completely supplanted by Harchan culture, with a few touchstones the Harchan approved of, and progress on mining the extensive asteroid belt between the 4th planet and the first gas giant of the system should just be about to start. A delivery of high-yield mining drones, highly adjustable breathing apparatus, and an offer of an export contract should be a nice way to round off the season's trade, and also add a nice diplomatic exchange bump to the bonus that the Zilpic High Council would approve based on how the Endeavor's trading had gone. True, there might still be a few protest movements, especially at the more tyrannical impositions the Harchan tended to use, but the vastly improved medical care, upgraded industrial capacity, and improved communications to near light speed should have pacified even the most truculent native. Only a few of the former world's elite ruling class would be feeling hard done by, with their leadership role completely gone, replaced by a large, chitinous insect, who spent their entire life since birth waiting to be given the chance to rule a small part of the Harchan polity union. It was this resentment which had caused the Zilpic to prefer completely monopolizing new species trade networks, extracting raw materials in exchange for advanced technology and permanent shipping contracts. Ozic thought it far better to allow species to handle their own political affairs, as long as whoever won was willing to sign trade deals with the Zilpic Trade Council. It was a shame this world had been claimed in the quorum of spacefaring species before the Zilpic had found out about it, as it was nicely placed to form part of a new trade route, and the Zilpic's brand of soft power would be far less of a shock to adjust to than the Harchan's wholesale seizure of power. As he mused, he noticed that his scanners officer was staring at his screen in slight bemusement, his long twin tail flicking slightly up and down in confusion. "What's the problem, Sil? A mining drone in our transit path?"
No, High Trader. Quite the opposite. There's nothing in the asteroid belt at all. Not even a scout ship, nor a base.
Ozic's tongue darted out, as he went over what he'd been told. This normally would mean that the Harchan were still trying to secure the world, as normally at least a patrol of Harchan interceptors would be in the outer limits of the habitable and useful worlds to prevent rogue miners taking advantage of the chaos caused by the takeover. If the Harchan were so caught up, it might be worth leaving a drone here to mine for a bit, and pick it up on his outward journey. Licking his eyes to moisten them, he turned to his sensors officer. No sense in stealing from the somewhat touchy Harchan if they were currently looking at him. Focus arrays on the habitable planet. Nearest Harchan mothership should give us answers, and put us in contact with the annexation commander, so we can find out what's happening here.
Yes, High Trader.
Sil paused as he adjusted the focus.
2 returns, matching mothership designation, geosynchronous polar orbit.
2? Ozic's tail lashed angrily. Sil, you have operated sensors on my ship since my first run. Please tell me you're not allowing a lump of dirt and rock to mask the other 4.
No, Ozic. I know my job,
Sil snapped back, his frill bright and blue, flushed with blood.
There are only 2 active mothership signals. No worldwide coverage of a Harchan communication network.
Ozic inhaled deeply, and fluttered his frill in apology. Start recording, and tell engineering to prepare a salvation pod. We need to know what happened here, and if the Harchan decide they don't want us to, we'll need to send it to the Trade Council quickly." Syl returned to his seat, and Azek pondered just what he'd been told. Normally, the Harchan set up a global, uninterrupted network, with 6 motherships, 2 at the poles and 4 interspaced around the middle of the planet. The theory went that all ships could see each other without sensors, and mutually support each other. It was overkill for a non-spacefaring world, but essential if a discovered species had spacefaring capability below the entrance requirements to the quorum. For 4 to be missing was a sign something had gone badly wrong. The Endeavor slipped past the 4th planet, and suddenly the command deck was alive with alarms.
6 Harchan interceptors. Weapons hot. Incoming. The hailing beam has locked on. They know we're here. I've received a message. Coded last chance. Putting it through to your headset.
Azek nodded, pulled on his gilded headset, and gulped as a gravelly, deep voice that could only belong to an angry bug twice the width of him came through.
Zilpic Trader, you will power down fully and prepare slave commands to my wing. Failure to comply will be taken as an act of hostility in breach of quorum espionage law.
Azek gestured with his tails, signaling Syl to order the launch of the pod with all sensor data before beaming a response. "Of course, Wing Commander. I assure you, we are merely here for trade. Why? Is something wrong?" Despite how outgunned he was, Azek felt a slight sense of satisfaction at the frustrated grunt he heard briefly, before the communication beam shut off. Time to find out what was going on.